Hello everyone and Merry Christmas. This is Programme 40 on the David Cassidy Connections. Thank you for downloading this podcast. Today my guest is Ken Wank, an award-winning songwriter who has been inspired by the music of David Cassidy and lyricist Tony Romeo. Tony wrote many songs recorded under the Partridge Family banner. These included the multi-million selling first hit, I Think I Love You, Summer Days, My Christmas Card to You, It's One of Those Nights, and Morning Rider on the Road, among many others. Ken shares with us some of the original material he has written, including songs influenced by the albums A Partridge Family Christmas Card, Sound Magazine and Crossword Puzzle. So let's hear more about his journey.
I feel that David's legacy really comes down to the fact that he touched so many people in so many positive ways. Simple as that, entertainment-wise, personally, and it's just a tribute to who he was.
The David Cassidy Connections with Louise Poynton.
Welcome to the David Cassidy Connections podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Lovely to see you. You once told me that you want your songs to evoke the feeling of happiness.
Yes.
Do you think they achieve that?
I hope so. I was so influenced by David and the Partridge Family music and Tony Romeo. That was happy music. That was just pure joy, incredibly crafted pop songs. And it brought just so much happiness. There was so much joy that came from them. And I wanted to have my songs kind of be like that and to evoke that in people. That's what I tried to do.
We're going to play some of your songs during the show. Really beautifully constructed.
Thank you.
We'll talk about how you got your inspiration for these songs, certainly from the lyrics. When you actually listened to them, yes, that would have been a really good Partridge Family song. When you were writing them, did you have David's voice singing them in your head?
Oh, of course. I mean, it was just the whole song, like, the Christmas song, which we'll get into. The song the album was great, the Christmas album, but the song which prompted me to write the Christmas song was My Christmas Card to You by Tony Romeo. And David the way it wasn't just the Tony Romeo songs, which I love. David was magic on all of the songs. He had this voice that it just takes your breath away. Nobody had a voice like him. So that particular song, of course, the way he performed My Christmas Card to You was, and I said, I got to write something like that because, it was so poignant, just so poignant.
When did you write I Can't Wait for Christmas Day?
I started writing it in the I would say in the late 80s, early 90s. And I finished it. It took some time. Did it about 97 is when it was recorded.
Let's talk first of all about the influence of the Partridge Family music and David's first solo album, Cherish. Can you tell me what it is about that music and what it means to you?
Well, the songs on that are so, those songs on the Partridge Family and the Cherish album, you said, okay. Yeah. Well, this is the story of how I became influenced by them. Okay. I was actually, besides writing, I was a chiropractor for many years. And in the early 80s, I was in chiropractic school. And what happened was I was studying, and during my study sessions, I would have the reruns of the Partridge Family on. I didn't really focus on the show in the early 70s when it was on, but in the early to mid 80s, as I was studying, I heard these songs and I said, wait a sec. Now, I played the keyboard since I was a little kid. I played by ear, but I never really thought about writing until I started hearing those songs. And every day I would put the next rerun. I said, I got to stop my studying. I said, this music is different than anything I've ever heard. It's just different. And I would listen. I said, oh my gosh, I'd hear Summer Days. I'd hear Together We're Better, I Think I Love You, all of these songs that were just beyond. And I started thinking to myself, wow, these are really special songs. Maybe I could try to do it, because I had the music in my head from playing other people's music. So as I was graduating from chiropractic school, I did do some writing. I was starting my practice and everything, but that's when I started writing in the mid 80s. And I would try to pattern my songs after Tony Romeo songs. And Tony had an immense influence in my life. He was just, to me, nobody wrote melodies and lyrics like him, just nobody. I mean, people beg to differ, but I mean, of course, the Beatles are great, and Irving Berlin is great. All those writers are great, but it was something about him. And David, and I remember when I would start to write my songs as the mid to late 80s went by, I said, this is what happened. So before I get to that, I said, I have to get these records. So I went to a record store, an old record store, and they had all the old Partridge Family albums, all of them still sealed and everything. I said, later on, the guy wanted to actually buy them back from me. He said, people want. So I was hunting through these cartons of records. I said, oh, there's Bulletin Board. Oh my gosh. And I got Cherish. And I said, oh my gosh, it was like I hit the mother lode, and I had them. I kept playing the music, and I said, I'm going to give this writing a go, and I'm going to start writing. And David's voice, it's really almost indescribable. His voice, it really is. There's no voice like it. Nobody. The way he met the lyrics and the melody in those songs was it was incredible. I mean, he delivered on every single one of them. The Cherish album, my favorite song of the Cherish album was We Could Never Be Friends. I love that song. I love Being Together. Just so many great songs on that. I also got the Dreams Are Nothing More Than Wishes album, and I love the Happy Day, not the Summer Days rendition. I love Play Me. I mean, I just lived that music. I lived it, and I just, when I wasn't working, I was thinking, maybe I can start writing, and I started having songs produced in the mid 80s, and I came across this wonderful producer in 88 who started helping me. I've been with him since. His name is Steve Skinner. And he's a tremendous, tremendous producer, and he's helped bring my songs to life. And a lot of times I'd go in the studio, and with the songs that you're going to be playing, I would bring the Partridge albums. They were on CD, some of them at that time. And I'd say, let's make this one like, for instance, While I'm on This Earth that you're going to play. That reminded me of As Long as There's You from the Crossword Puzzle album. So it's different melody and lyrics. So I would bring it in, and I said, Steve, I want to make this like this. And then I would do How Was I to Know? That was like You Don't Have to Tell Me from the Sound Magazine album. And of course, My Christmas Card to You was, there. So it just, I don't mean to keep rambling, but
No, you carry on. This is fascinating.
Yeah, it just took over my life. To me, the Partridge music and David's music was here, way up. There's a lot of great music in the world, and I was inspired. I also love, when I grew up, I was very, very, I was so into 70s music and some 60s music, and I love that music per se. But something about David, the Partridge Family, and that music was just at another level for me. It was just at a different level.
We were all exposed as young kids to the music that our parents would play, but we didn't have anyone that we could relate to. David's emergence onto the scene, and as you say, that unique voice of his, suddenly he belonged to us. And your reaction is exactly what everybody has.
Yeah, and
you just can't compare it.
No, and Louise, it got into my soul immediately. It's not like it took time. I would hear these songs, and I just had the reruns on in the background, and I'm saying, that song is incredible. That song is incredible. And the way he brought them to life, and how he inspired me, and Tony Romeo inspired me. It was just the combination of them. And, like I said, it wasn't just Tony's songs, which David did justice to. He did justice to all the songs, all of them, and he just had, it was magical, just a magical sound.
unbeknown to you, some of the music that you had liked before the Partridge Family had actually been written by Tony Romeo, had they not?
Yeah, he had a pretty big song for Lou Christie. He wrote "I'm Gonna Make You Mine" in '69. He wrote for Johnny Maestro on the Brooklyn Bridge. He did "Welcome Me Love" and "Blessed Is the Rain." And he wrote for he had a big hit with Indian Lake for the Cowsills. And so he had a in fact, it's so funny. I remember I was listening after at one point after I got to know about Tony, I heard "I'm Gonna Make You Mine." I said, I bet you he wrote that song. And sure enough, he wrote that song. It was so funny. I remember I had the 45. I said, Tony Romeo wrote that. Of course he did, because it's just so catchy and infectious. You just can't get enough of him. So he was my idol, and David is my idol. And,
Where do you rate him in the history of American songwriters?
Oh, to me, listen, you had Irving Berlin, the Beatles, incredible writers, Bacharach and David, the Carpenters, Richard Carpenter. I mean, there's so many incredible writers. To me, Tony Romeo just stood above. He was just above. I'll give you an example. One of his songs is so, and this was a big song for the Partridge Family too. It's "One of Those Nights." There's something very unusual about that song. In fact, that song, I don't know if you know, was later covered by the Letterman. To me, he's tops. To me, he was the top. Not that there's not other writers that are incredible. McCartney and Lennon and things like that. They're, great writers. But something about his songs were different.
Well, you look at any of the Partridge Family songs which he wrote and which David delivered so beautifully. He was painting a picture and telling a story. Is that how you set about composing your songs?
In the early times of writing, a lot of times it would be a story, but it was a lot of love themes. I did a lot of themes about love. And as I started to evolve as a writer, I started getting into other thoughts about how can I tell more of a story? How can I be more expressive? It was, I tried to be more descriptive as I went on with my writing. Like, for instance, Tony's song, you never hear a song by anybody like "Point Me in the Direction of Albuquerque." Whoever writes a song like that about a girl with tossed hair, I put my arm around her. That's genius. That's genius. Come on. This guy had a mind. If I ever got to meet him, I would have bowed to him, and of course to David. But it was incredible. Yeah.
The first song we're going to come on to is "I Can't Wait for Christmas Day." The influence on that was "My Christmas Card to You" from the Partridge Family Christmas Card album, which will remind people was the best-selling album in the United States during the 4-week festive season of 1971. The only original track, "My Christmas Card to You," paints a glorious image of Christmas.
Oh, unbelievable. Instead of letting the postman bring it, I decided I'd rather sing it. Those lyrics are insane what he wrote. That song, I wanted to create a song just with that feel. "My Christmas Card to You," that's, I think, probably, if not one of the greatest Christmas songs ever written. That and "White Christmas."
Did you enjoy Christmas as a little boy?
Christmas is not my holiday, but I loved it. I loved the music. Even as it wasn't our holiday when we were young, we had a tree and things. So I very much got into the Christmas spirit in those days. Yeah, very much so.
We will play the first of those songs, "I Can't Wait for Christmas Day."
Wonderful. Enjoy.
Trees are blowing, the snow's coming down. There's something in the air. The streets are crowded, just look around. There are people everywhere. Folks are smiling as they pass by. It's that time of year. I've got a special feeling and I know why. This Christmas Day will soon be here. Can make Shoppers are buying last minute things. Yes, the time is near. On every corner, the carolers sing all the songs I love to hear. The snow is piling up on the ground. What a lovely sight. There are decorations all over town, and all the houses look just right. Santa's coming, the kids are running. Listen as the church bell rings. I keep waiting, anticipating all the joy that the day brings. There's no way to hide it. I can't wait for Christmas Day. I get excited watching all the children play. No other season can make my heart beat quite this way. And the reason is I can't wait for Christmas Day. Santa's coming, the kids are running. Listen as the church bell rings. I keep waiting, anticipating all the joy that the day brings. There's no way to hide it. I can't wait for Christmas Day. I get excited watching all the children play. No other season can make my heart beat quite this way. And the reason is I can't wait for Christmas Day. I can't wait for Christmas Day. No, I can't wait for Christmas Day.
That song encompasses Christmas Day.
Oh, thank you.
It
Thank
really
you so
does.
much.
Who is the lady?
Her name is Britt Savage. She's a singer from Nashville. Did a lot of my music. Very talented. She's very talented. She helped bring it to life. Yeah.
Tell me about your life growing up as a little boy. How important was music to you?
I mean, I had an incredible childhood with an incredibly close family, wonderful, loving, giving parents, an incredible sister who I'm so close to. She's one of my biggest fans, and she's always been very supportive. I've had so much support from my beautiful wife, Ida, my beautiful sister, Julie, my brother-in-law, Ron, my nephews, Jonathan, Benjamin, David, and friends of mine, Paul, Sam, Roger. Incredible support system through my years of writing. I just wanted to add that you can't just do it alone. You have to have people that bounce things off of and everything. And they've been just so incredibly supportive. Wonderful family and friends, and wife, of course. I don't remember exactly how it came, but I remember my parents, I believe, got me a little toy piano when I was like 5 or 6. And I started plucking out music. I don't remember why they got the piano, but I started plucking it out. And then later, maybe I was 8 or 9 or 10, and they would get this big white piano. And I started, for whatever the reason, when I would hear melodies and I hear people's songs, I could just sit down and play it. I don't read music. I just can hear the songs and then I sit and play it. And this was like when I was a kid. And it was really music. I never thought about writing in those days. It was just playing other people's songs. And it was just and it evolved into, I got an organ. So it was very loving, and my parents were and Julie, my sister Julie, was very, into things and in the music, and they were so supportive of me playing and things like that. And then in my mid-20s, when I was going through grad school, that's when the songwriting bug hit me.
You remember the first song you wrote?
Yes, it was called "Love Is a Game of Chance." And that song was inspired. The title of that song, also, I want to give a good pop to a very wonderful, my favorite British movie, Oliver, from 1968. There was a song in that movie called "It's a Fine Life." And in the lyrics was "Life is a game of chance." So the first title I got was Love is a Game of Chance. I got it from that. That's my favorite movie. You know, Shani Wallace was in that, and it was just, if you want to hear music, boys, go watch that, Oliver. Oh my God, what a movie.
It's so strange, isn't it? The music that we listened to when we were young, how they come back into our lives and inspire us and influence us.
Yeah.
And we're not consciously aware of that.
That's true. And so that was my first song, Love is a Game of Chance. And that was back in 1984 or 5.
You grew up in New York?
I grew up in Long Island, New York. In my mid-20s, I moved to another part of Long Island, Queens. And I mean, some of the other influences, Louise, might have been, you know, like I said, I collected a lot of 45s. The Lion Sleeps Tonight, Everybody Plays the Fool by the Main Ingredient. Just so many incredible music from the 70s was just, you know, and some from the 60s. Petula Clark, I love Petula Clark. As I was getting older, loved her. I guess I was born in the wrong decade. I wish I could have written for those people back then.
Okay, we're going to move on to the second song. This is called How Was I to Know? Inspired by a song from the Sound magazine album, again written by Tony Romeo. Can you tell us how that inspiration evolved, and also elaborate on why for you Sound magazine is probably one of the best Partridge Family albums, worthy of the highest accolades?
Yeah. Well, that was the song from that album was You Don't Have to Tell Me, and I just love that ballad. I loved it. It was just an incredible ballad. And for whatever reason, one night I was in bed, I think, and I said, that song, I got to write something similar to that, in the sense of what would Tony write and then, of course, the way David delivered it. I mean, indescribable. So what happened was I started to write the song, and I got through it pretty quickly. Sound magazine that's definitely one of my favorite albums. It's right up there in the top. There's a good variety of songs in there, from Summer Days to I Woke Up in Love This Morning. Another great song, which I think is very underrated, is I'm On My Way Back Home Again. I would play that song to death. I just absolutely love that. And the variety of songs on there, from One Night Stand, Brown Eyes, it was such I think that was the peak of the Partridge. Right around that time was the Sound magazine. I mean, I love all the albums, but that, you know, some more than others, but that one, the variety is very, very unique in that. And I feel it's not all like a cookie cutter type of thing where it's just one after the other. And even Rainmaker was a very unique song.
What was the story behind writing the lyrics to How Was I to Know?
Well, it was I had never really done a heartbreak ballad before, or heartbreak song. Oh, actually, I did do one that was more up tempo, but I never did one that was a real tearjerker. And also, it was the idea of what Tony was trying to convey, and You Don't Have to Tell Me. It was about a guy who was seeing that the girl didn't really want to be with him anymore, and it was a heartbreak. So I said that was kind of the inspiration of, let's create something that's really a tearjerker and breaking up totally unexpectedly. How is a person going to feel? So I was trying to evoke those. I mean, like we talked about earlier, Louise, my music is happy. This particular one, I was trying to really evoke some real tearjerker emotions.
Do you call on any personal experiences to write your songs?
Well, sure. I had my share of times where people walked out of me. Sure. I wouldn't say I was thinking about, I don't know. Maybe I was thinking about them at the time. I don't remember.
And here is How Was I to Know?
Wonderful.
Till the day I die, you swore you would. Guess I misunderstood. How was I to know that I'd be here all by myself? All the signs you showed, you they told me something else. Were they just lies? Some big disguise? There was something you were hiding that I didn't see at all. I wish there was some writing that you'd have left on the wall. How was I to know that you were slipping through my fingers? You gave me so much hope, but now all I got's a pain that lingers. Baby, what we had, was it so bad? Why did I believe I could trust you with my emotions? The little things you'd say to me, guess I mistook for your devotion. You had me so, but now I'm out in the There were dreams we had together and promises you made, so I planned on forever. What a fool I, what a fool I, what a fool I played. Guess it was all pretend. Yeah, you put on quite a show. If it was gonna end, then baby, tell me, how was I to know?
Like you said earlier on, you do tend to think, could the Partridge Family have recorded that song?
That would have been if he ever recorded any of my songs, I think I would have fainted. I would have just, if it ever happened that way, I would have fainted. I mean, this is unbelievable. I was at a songwriting workshop or meeting a couple of years ago, and there was a man sitting to my right, a couple of seats over, who mentioned the name Mike Appel, and I heard him say the name Mike Appel. So after the class was over, I went up to him, and he was friends with him, and I remembered Mike Appel wrote on the first two Partridge Family albums, did I Can Feel Your Heartbeat, which is a great song. Somebody Wants to Love You, which I believe was the flip side of I Think I Love You, and Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted, which was a million selling hit, and Umbrella Man. So I went up to this man, Rob, his name is Rob, and I said, is that the same Mike Appel who wrote on the Partridge Family? And he said, yeah. He says, but most people know him as Bruce Springsteen's first manager, and he produced Born to Run. So he set me up with a meeting with Mike, and I met Mike. I brought my Partridge albums, and Mike heard my songs. I had given him some of my music, and he actually said to, first of all, he signed my albums. Here I'm meeting a guy who wrote from 50 years ago. He said to me, and this was unbelievable, he said, you would have written for Wes Farrell. He told me you would have written for the Partridge Family. That was just beyond belief. That's synchronicity 50 years later, how I met him.
You can't get a better accolade than that.
No. And he actually was telling me about Tony, how Tony was a funny character. I was asking him about Tony Romeo. He says, oh yeah, Tony would come in with his hat and everything. He would say, let's write or do, so he said Tony was a nice guy. And in fact, he was extremely complimentary of that Be Under the Christmas Trees. So he's a really great songwriter, and it was just great meeting him. He was really, really good to meet and talk to, and I got a nice compliment from him, as I had mentioned earlier, and it was just great meeting him.
You did see him in concert, though, a few times over the years.
Many times, more than a few.
Can you share with me those experiences?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I started seeing David, I would say it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, and for the whole decade of the early 2000s and up until he passed. I started, my first place I saw him was in Foxwoods. It was up in Connecticut in the late 90s. And then in the early 2000s, I saw him. My wife and I went all over to see him. We went to Connecticut, New Jersey. We saw him at Mohegan Sun. we would go to outdoor parks in Long Island, New Jersey, and the energy at those concerts, it was a day's event. You would go there and you would sit outside for hours just waiting. And you talk to other fans who had shirts on, albums. It was a love fest. It was just, and then when he came out, people went nuts. And he would just, the way he sang, even years later, the way he brought the songs to life, he was such a showman. And he was just, oh my God, it was just priceless. I was fortunate enough to see his last concert at BB King's. So yes, I saw them there a number of times. And funny, we would get to BB King's, because there was a line outside, and there were girls there from the UK that would slept overnight there. From Germany, people would come and stay there overnight to get a good seat to see him. It's tremendous.
Was that last concert full of emotion for you?
I think there was rumors at that time that he might stop touring. So there was a hint of a possibility that he might not be doing it anymore. But we never thought that was probably totally the end. So it was definitely it was an interesting evening.
What was the best concert that you saw?
Well, boy, there's so many great ones. BB King's is a very quaint place. It's not very big, and it had a limited number of seating. So I would say those are probably the best ones, because he's right on top of you on the stage and you're right down there in the audience. Very good. Even the Mohegan Sun ones were good. It's hard to say. They were incredibly performing. He had great musicians. I met him at a meet and greet before one of the last concerts. It was in New Jersey in 2015. And
what did that moment mean to you?
Well, it was incredible. It was just to see him, and it was just to get a picture. It was very close picture. It was just wonderful to be there. It was just, to see him in person and right next to him, it was just amazing. Yeah.
But you did write to him at one point, didn't you? Can you share with us? I know that you wrote about this in Cherish, David Cassidy, A Legacy of Love. You did receive a special email that dropped into your inbox. Can you tell us the story of this?
Yeah, in the early, around 2011, 2012, I became friendly somewhat with David's webmaster, Jane. And I wrote one day to Jane, and I said, would it be okay if I sent an email to David through you, how I was inspired by him? He had just been on Good Day New York talking about Alzheimer's with his mom, about his mom and things like that. And she said, sure. So I wrote an email telling how I was inspired by him and Tony Romeo. I play his music, just a very complimentary email towards him. And I think it was within a day or two back, she wrote back and she said, David asked me to forward this email to you. And it was, I'll never forget, June 5th, 2012. It was beyond, just that he was, honored that he inspired me, and that I was, he wished me nothing but success with my songwriting. And it was just, he was honored. And that just meant the world to me.
You keep it locked away, or do you have it framed on display?
I don't have it framed. I printed it out, but I did not frame it. But I have it for posterity. It's in the computer. It's in the home somewhere, and it's just. And I have it now in your book, so that's there for posterity. Yes. After November 21st, 2017, I couldn't play any of David's music for at least 2 or 3 years. I just couldn't do it. I was devastated. I was in mourning. I couldn't do it. In the last year, I finally pulled out the albums again and started playing them, but I couldn't. It was when he passed, that part of me just passed, and I said, I can't listen right now. I just couldn't listen to it. I have been listening in the last year or so, but it took me a while to get over his passing. And it just wasn't the same. When he was alive and we had the concerts to look forward to, oh, wow, I'll play the music all the time. Let me write this song based on this. And it was just incredible. When he passed, everything changed. It just changed.
Time to move on to your third composition. This is called While I'm on This Earth. Tell us where the inspiration came for this one.
Well, it was, again, another song that I felt was very poignant and deep that David did. I wanted to create another theme similar to the How Was I to Know that was from You Don't Have to Tell Me to While I'm on This Earth. And As Long as There's You is a tremendously powerful love ballad. I said, let me do something similar to that. So while the melody's different and the words are different, the structure is very similar to As Long as There's You. And I remember bringing the song into the studio, and my producer did the rest. And it's funny, my wife actually and I used this as our wedding song when we got married a number of years ago. Yeah, people came up to me after the, I didn't know you wrote. It was kind of.
Here we are, While I'm on This Earth.
Whenever life seems cruel and so unfair, and you need someone there, I'll help you get by. Whenever you fear that you're on your own, you'll never be alone. As long as I'm alive, while I'm on this earth, I will love you every day. I'll keep you standing tall when all hope slips away. While I'm on this earth, I'll help you chase your every dream. As hard as they may seem, I'll steer you on your way. There'll be days you can't go on, and heaven knows when I'll be gone. But I'm here to lean upon while I'm on this earth. Yes, I'm here to lean upon while I'm on this earth. No one knows what each day will bring, but baby, there's one thing on which you can depend. Just as long as I'm able to breathe, I will always be your lover and your friend. While I'm on this earth, I will love you every day. I'll keep you standing tall when all hope slips away. While I'm on this earth, I'll help you chase your every dream. As hard as they may seem, I'll steer you on your way. There'll be days you can't go on, and heaven knows when I'll be gone. But I'm here to lean upon while I'm on this earth. Life may seem hard, but don't you care at all. 'Cause baby, I'll be there to catch you when you fall. While I'm on this earth, I will love you every day. I'll keep you standing tall when all hope slips away. While I'm on this earth, I'll help you chase your every dream. As hard as they may seem, I'll steer you on your way. There'll be days you can't go on, and heaven knows when I'll be gone. But I'm here to lean upon while I'm on this earth. There'll be days you can't go on, heaven knows when I'll be gone. But I'm here to lean upon while I'm on this earth. While I'm on this earth.
Beautiful, beautiful track.
Thank you.
I can see how emotional your wedding day must have been.
Yeah, it was.
You haven't mentioned this yourself, but I know that you've won more than 30 songwriting awards.
Yeah, I've gotten awards from a lot of different contests over the years, and it meant a lot. I placed in different places, but it was just to get acknowledged and honorable mentions and things. It was just validation for continuing to write. It was just nice. Yeah.
How many songs do you reckon you've written over the years?
I would say close to 45, 50, 45 or 50, something in that vicinity, probably 40, in the mid 40s, maybe high 40s, something like that.
Are these ones that we've chosen today, these four, among your favorites?
Yeah, they are definitely right up there as some of my poignant ones, because of the fact they were Partridge related, so they mean that much more to me. You know, I got the inspiration from the Partridge songs. They mean a lot. Yeah, these are definitely, I feel, I mean, the Christmas song is very dear to my heart. I hadn't mentioned that song was actually released as a dance song a number of years ago on a dance compilation. It's a mid-tempo that you played. But
how long does it take you to put a song together?
To actually write the melody, it varies. Sometimes I remember there on some songs it'll come within a week or so, maybe a couple of weeks. Sometimes I could get stuck on a line in a song for months, and I would just like, where is this last line going to come from? And I would just bang in my head. And then sometimes it just comes to you when you're half asleep at night. Oh, I better write it down or something like that. So that's, yeah. How was I to know did have that? There was a part in that song that I was stumped on for a while, where I was trying to find a last beat. But when I finish it, like if a week or two, I said, oh, that's something Tony would have done. And, you know, like something like that, I said, oh, he would have done that. So it varies. It could be sometimes the last Christmas song I did, What Could That Be Under the Christmas Tree, that I did within about 3 or 4 days. That came right away. And that was an inspiration. That was just a general, it wasn't Partridge related, but it was.
Tell us about the lyrics, because it's a very moving story in itself, that one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, what I did is I was at a songwriting meeting in the city, and I remember they said, why don't you start to write some more? So I went home that night, and I said, let me start another Christmas song. And I thought about, I can't remember a song about a girl I said, let's come up with something about a girl who wants her guy to commit to him. And it's like, let's create a story. It's middle of December and the tree is trimmed and the gifts are under the tree. And she's saying, God, I hope he commits to me. And then she sees this box under the tree. Could that be the diamond ring I've been waiting for? Could it be? I got to wait a whole 2 weeks for this? Oh my gosh. So little by little, about 3 or 4 days, I came up with it and went to my producer, and it was just, the reason I thought this song was very poignant, it has a payoff at the end, because at the end on Christmas morning, after all the anxiety and buildup over the couple of weeks and from mid-December, he opens the box and takes out the diamond ring and gives it to her. So that's the payoff. It's kind of like Tie Yellow Ribbon from Tony Orlando, when he comes home on the bus and sees all, 1,000 ribbons around the tree. So it's a song with a payoff, I think, is really, really important.
You sound as though you are a bit of a romantic.
Yeah, I would say I'm more than a bit. Yes, I am.
Well, let's hear that one.
Oh, you're going to play What Could That Be Under the... Oh, wow. Oh, how wonderful. Oh, what a thrill.
It's mid-December, yeah, that time of year. Beside the fireplace, my honey's holding me near. As I see how nice we trimmed the Christmas tree, I get to wondering if he'll ever commit to me. Out of the corner of my eye, as I look below, I see this pretty blue box with a big red bow. Past few years I've been pleading with the man above, please one day let him pledge his love. When he goes to sleep, maybe I'll look inside, but Christmas is almost here. Guess I'll just let it ride. As I wonder, what could that be under the Christmas tree? Is it what I've been praying it would be? I wanna peek, but no, I must be strong. I won't give in, I've waited this long. Just have to wait a little longer to see what's underneath the Christmas tree. As each day passes and I walk by that tree, I get overwhelmed with curiosity. Is it what he always gets from me? A handbag, boots, or some plain jewelry? Though the box is not that small, maybe it'll still connect Christmas Eve, but I couldn't sleep that well. Thinking about what I'd receive all at once. Daybreak came, gotta prepare myself. It's Christmas morning and we're at the tree. I'm overcome with anxiety. Yeah, I feared it would be the same old thing. But when he took out that diamond ring, I knew that it was worth the wait to see what was underneath the Christmas, underneath the Christmas, underneath the Christmas tree. Yeah, it took time, but I'm so glad I found out finally what was underneath the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
So what do you, Ken, expect to find under the Christmas tree this year?
I'm not sure. Not sure exactly. I'm sure my wife will think of something, or will, I have an idea, but we'll see.
What do you consider Tony Romeo's best songs?
Well, my favorite all-time song of all time, which he co-wrote, was "Together We're Better." He co-wrote that from the Notebook. Now, that's that's the song that, for some reason, I'd say the close ones behind that, "My Christmas Card to You," "Summer Days," and the other song I love a lot is "I'll Never Get Over You" from the Bulletin Board album. That was one of my best. I also love "I'm Gonna Make You Mine," and "Play Me" was a great song from. And "I Think I Love You." I forgot. How could I forget that one?
There's two particular songs that you forgot to mention. One was
Yeah.
"I Think I Love You."
Yeah.
And the other one, "Morning Rider on the Road."
That's another great. Yeah. Oh, that's another great song. Yeah. He was. One of my favorites is "You Are Always on My Mind" from the Up to Date album.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. And "Morning Rider on the Road," the story in that was incredible. "Hobo in the Sun," just incredible stuff.
I remember when I was in my teens, I had to look up in the dictionary, what is a hobo? Because we didn't know what they were, what it was. What was he singing about?
Yeah,
But
it's just it's hard to pick a favorite, but he just had so many. And of course, "It's One of Those Nights" and "Last Night," and it just so many. "Blessed Is the Rain" from Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge. Love that song. And so yeah, it's a cornucopia of incredible pop music.
if anybody wants to learn about how good a singer David Cassidy was in his early 20s, how outstanding a songwriter Tony Romeo was, would you urge them to listen to every Partridge Family album?
Oh, yes. Tony was the only writer who was on every single album. Tony was on every one of the albums from the original through Bulletin Board. Yes. If you haven't, they're all out on CDs. The show is out now in box set. Go listen to all that music. Listen to David Cherish album, "Dreams Are Nothing More Than Wishes," and listen to that music. And not only Tony's songs, just listen to that music, how incredibly well-crafted pop music, and listen to how he delivered. There's not one song where I said he could have done a better job. Never. Just impeccable, right?
Yeah.
There's no songs that could have been redone any better. Yeah.
And you have to wonder whether, if anybody else had sung those songs, whether they would have had the same impact on us.
I don't think so. There was something magical about his voice that was just different than it had a sleekness to it. That's the word I would use, sleek. Very sleek and polished and professional, and it just penetrated your soul.
You're not missing any Partridge Family songs, are you?
The only Partridge Family songs I'm missing, which I'm hoping they put out, are the unreleased songs that came out on the shows but were never put out on the albums. Yeah. So Sony Music, if you're listening, please, there's lots of fans out there that want this music.
Yeah, we don't want the bootlegs. We want the real thing.
The original from the vault, right?
Because that is part of his legacy.
Yes.
Some people would say, well, it's easy to dismiss him as not having any talent because he was a teenage idol. You don't agree with that?
Oh, he was so underrated And it bothered me that he didn't get the recognition that he deserved, because that's kids' music. No, that's not kids' music. That's incredibly well-crafted pop songs. And the writers on those, there's so many great writers on those songs that were in the Brill Building and wrote in those years for Wes Farrell. He was so underrated over the years. He just never got the recognition I felt that he deserved. And I just want people to know this music and this person and this gift that he gave to all of us was once in a lifetime. So yes, he did not get the credit he deserved.
Above that, he was underappreciated.
Well, not among the fans who loved him. Those people were diehards from the beginning through the end. He was underappreciated by a lot of the world. I think a lot of the people scoffed at the Partridge Family music because it wasn't mature enough in their eyes and it wasn't cool enough or anything. But there was a lot of songs on the albums, Louise, that had like a rock feel. Think about I Can Feel Your Heartbeat, I Woke Up in Love This Morning, Roller Coaster. In other words, it wasn't just syrupy, sweet music. Wes Farrell created these other kinds of songs that gave it more of an oomph to it. But unfortunately, I think that people would hear the word Partridge Family that weren't diehard fans and say, the Partridge Family, which always got to me inside, bothered me that it was like not important. But meanwhile, they sold millions and millions of records, millions, and merchandise. And he was the biggest teen idol of all time. Bigger fan club than Elvis and the Beatles combined. Hello. I have an album from an LP from Japan I in my collection when I was collecting in those days. I mean, I have all that stuff, all the albums and everything, and they're still sealed and everything. It's like I have this one section in my house, in my home, that is just, it's all David, Partridge Family. It's all the albums in a special place till they put me in the ground. That's what's going to be with me.
Yeah, really.
Oh yeah. It's funny. My feeling is that there are some people in life that are chosen to affect massive amounts of people, and I feel that David was one of those people. Like I said, it took me a while to get over the mourning process. As good as the music was, it just took me a long time to listen again.
Were you surprised at the depth of feeling that evoked?
I was surprised that I couldn't listen for a while. I was a little surprised about that. I mean, I was devastated, when he passed, and always held out hope at the end, maybe a transplant or something would happen, but it didn't happen. And, my wife and I just, we talk about there's no more David concerts anymore, and seeing anybody else is nice. It's not like him though. Just not like, he was just a showman to the nth degree.
How did you regard him as a songwriter?
Oh, he was that's another great point. I thought he was a good writer. I liked his song on the Shopping Bag album called There'll Come a Time. Very, very good. He was a good writer. And I believe he wrote some other songs with Wes Farrell, I believe. But he was talented also. I love that song, There'll Come a Time. I forgot about that.
No, there's so much. Once people start to delve deep into the legend that is David Cassidy, it's like, wow, I didn't know that. I ask everyone this question, but what do you think his legacy should be?
Well, his legacy is, he was also, a great actor too. He was in shows and things like that. Blood Brothers. I never got the fortunate to see that, but his legacy is an entertainer, singer, songwriter, actor of just total professionalism. And the joy he brought to so many people is incalculable. And this has been just wonderful. And I can't thank you enough for sharing this and the importance you brought to David. Now, I'm so honored that you're doing this. To be part of this community that cherishes this idol. And and what you've done is just, you brought so many people together, which he did. So to be part of this book is just, it's beyond belief. The stories and the pictures are just, forget about it. He touched so many lives, and you're touching our lives through him. And I think his legacy is one of love and togetherness, just pure entertainment. He was so gifted in so many areas. His legacy is one of just love and bring people together.
Sounds a perfect epitaph.
Thank you, Louise. Really.
Thank you so much, Ken. It was wonderful for you to be a part of it and to share your incredible story.
Thank you for everything.
That's all right. It's my pleasure. A very Merry Christmas to you, Ken.
Same here. Take care. Merry Christmas.
So that's it for this show and this year. You can read more about Ken and hear more of his music by visiting his website, and the details can be found in the show notes which accompany this podcast. I shall be back in January with more wonderful guests, sharing their life story and David's role in their lives. It just leaves me now to thank you for your continued support. A huge thanks to all my guests, and to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. Until we connect again in 2022, take care.